we have a ton of romantic comedy anime coming out in 2025 with a brand new season. Shows like The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten, The 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You, Rent a Girlfriend, or even My Dress Up Darling. But the show that falls under this lucky category that'll topic this video is A Couple of Cuckoos. Season 1 of A Couple of Cuckoos introduced a heavy amount of mysteries for our nest of characters to unravel. Who is Hiro Sagawa's fiancé? What is Shorichiru's plan behind the scene? Who will become the bride of Nagi Umino? What is Erika's bust size? What? Will Sachi Umino enroll in Megidogawa Academy? Who is that little girl in the family photo album? And arguably the two most notable mysteries. Who is Sousuke Amano? Is he real? What is his ultimate plan? As well as what happened between Shorichiru and Sousuke to destroy their family bond. Season 1 being unable to tie up any of these loose ends, the upcoming second season slated for a 2025 release window may very well tie up not every, but some of these mysteries. So today, we'll be explaining the entire Season 2 of A Couple of Cuckoos. So let's do this. Season 1 of the show adapted roughly 60 fouls, which implies the idea that Season 2 will adapt 60 more, landing us at foul 120. However, I have an idea they'll be using the ending of foul 121 as the perfect season finale, so let's run through all the important details that'll happen to that point. And as a fair warning, the remainder of this video will be nothing but pure spoilers. So if you'd rather go into Season 2 blind, I'd suggest not watching this video. Or maybe watch this video instead, covering a lighter, more broad reaction into the Season 2 teaser. As Nagi, Sachi, and Hiro try their best to help Erika recover from her sudden fever, we have word that a childhood friend of Nagi's has returned to Tokyo. The next morning, Erika has sprung back to her energetic self, as she and Hiro go on a shopping trip. Nagi, appearing to have the house to himself until Sachi gets back from school, he decides to lounge around the pool completely naked. And to his inconvenience, Sachi returns home early from school, with Nagi and Sachi talking about their past as caretakers for a stray cat. Erika rushes back home and claims that Hiro has been kidnapped, initiating a flashback scene seeing Hiro being escorted into a car by people in suits, as well as her own mother. Remembering that Hiro has ran away from home, asking to live at the Ami Umi house for a while. It's also worth keeping in mind that this wasn't mentioned in the anime, so it's likely they'll play it off as they're just picking her up to bring her home to meet her fiancé or something. Nagi, seeing the perfect opportunity to change her fate, he dashes all the way to Megiddo Shrine to heroically steal her back. And after successfully running off, a dramatic flashback occurs where we're introduced to Hiro Sagawa 2 years ago, after transferred from Kakinokizawa Junior High. Nagi getting second place in a test for the first time, beaten by the new student. The next day at school, Nagi comes down with a stomachache and is dismissed to the nurse's office, where Hiro happens to be his hospital bed neighbor who has a fever. She gets up and stumbles to class to get there in time to take the next test. However, even with the handicap, still takes first place. Nagi trying to congratulate her on her victory, she lashes out and demands he never talks to her again. However, the next morning she has undergone a complete overnight transformation and immediately becomes the most popular girl at school. And thusly we learn of the origin of Hiro Sagawa and how Nagi fell for her. Back outside of the flashback, Nagi and Hiro are waiting for a bus. Hiro discusses how she's wondered if Nagi would have saved her in that moment, which obviously she was. Nagi asks about the reason she's changed 2 years ago, where we find out it's all in attempt to shake off her fiancé, and in order to make sure people like Nagi couldn't get close to her. See how that worked out for ya. Eventually, the youth police, Erika, finds the two and returns Hiro and apologizes for her fiance's behavior. On their way back home, Erika praises Nagi for being so brave doing what he's done today, and rewards him with hot corn soup. Getting a peek at home before Nagi and Erika make their return, we see that Shorichiro has been lurking around, learning about an obstacle in his overall plan. The idea that Nagi likes someone else, claiming this interference will give him a lot to think about while gazing at the photo board. The next day, walking back from school, a mysterious voice calls out to Sachi, revealing herself as Ai Mochizuki, the childhood friend of Nagi and Sachi. Catching up at Umino Tai, Ai greets Yohei and Namie as well, talking about her time in China, her secret job, and her depressing story behind her dysfunctional split-up family going their separate ways. Sachi bringing Ai over to the Ami-Umi house, reuniting her with Nagi after 7 years. Also being introduced to his fiancée. Very quickly we learn that Ai has come to give Nagi a reply. See, before the Mochizuki family moved away to China, Nagi dramatically confesses to her, where she replies she'll give him an answer the next time they see each other. She also goes over the second reason she's returned to Japan, and that is to marry Nagi. Taking her leave, Nagi dashes after her to straighten things out with her. He divulges that there's someone else he likes, and he has a fiancé. I know, complicated. Before walking her home, Ai wishes to visit their old beloved candy shop from their childhood, discussing down the path of memory lane and seeing how much it's turned into a 5-11. Ai expresses how, unlike all those years ago, failing to win the Super Bowl lottery, this time she'll get exactly what she wants, and that is her dear Nagi. Later that evening, at the restaurant, Yohei asks how it was to see Ai after all those years, where Nagi mentioned she came back to Japan to marry him, as Yohei invokes a thrilling fistfight between him and his son over ignoring his engagement. Quickly getting shut down by Namie, forcing the two to clean up after their mess, Nagi takes a step outside for some fresh night air in sudden realization that he may have just stepped into his popular period. After cleaning up, Nagi returns to the Ami-Umi house as Erika has a question for him. She wishes to know what it feels like when you like someone, replying with whatever simple pleasures that would make one happy, but 100 times better. Erika gets a quick idea to play with fireworks outside, and later asks if he'd be able to like her one day. Sachi overhearing that conversation, she wonders if the same may apply to herself, and Nagi might like her someday too. After the fireworks of emotions sparking a string in everyone's hearts, the next morning Sachi prepares for a date with a boy from her class. Nagi and Erika, shocked by their sister going on a date, they stalk her date with Matsuda behind corners and disguises, watching their every move. As Matsuda and Sachi say their goodbyes, Sachi points out the two who's been following her all day. Nagi believes Matsuda has confessed to Sachi, who's accepted to date him, flaunting the facade in hopes to make him jealous. Erika and Sachi leaving for home, gossiping all the way. Nagi leaves the area a little later while lost in thought and almost gets run over by Hiro on her bike, who then partake in a late-night karaoke session and talks about how everything's going as of late. We also learn of a song Hiro loves entitled Short Circuit. The next morning, Erika wakes up around 12 o'clock. Well, I do the same thing, so I'm in no range to judge. But Ai has been observing over her during her slumber. She then follows Erika throughout her entire morning routine, from the bath to brushing her teeth to getting dressed to eating breakfast. We find out Ai is trying to compete with Nagi's future wife. They decide to settle Nagi's future over a game of darts. During the competition, we learn about Ai's job as an idol and how she's been enrolled at college at the age of 13, and she's already graduated as a genius. After bombarding Erika with a load of questions, she divulges that Erika isn't her biggest threat to her marriage. It's actually Sachi. And after learning everything she needed to learn, she takes her leave. Running after Ai explains how Nagi is the plaything under the force of fate, and afterwards confesses her feelings, which leaves Nagi's knees weak, as this was the first time a girl has ever confessed her feelings to him. Trying to figure out all these emotions running through his head, everything leads back to Hiro. He wants to see Hiro jealous in order to have her easily susceptible to his confessions. Once more, visiting Megiddo Shrine that is currently undergoing setup for tomorrow's festival, Nagi finds Hiro to brag about a girl having confessed to him. Clearly tugging at a cord, Hiro ominously remarks she may just have to kill someone, where she asks Nagi to bring this mystery girl to tomorrow's festival. As it appears, Hiro just may murder her to get her out of the picture. Discussing this revelation with the girls, Erika brings up the idea that maybe with the intention of murdering Ai, she might as well kill Nagi alongside. The very guy who was bothering and bragging to her while she was working under the hot summer sun. The day of the festival arrives as Nagi and the girls are looking around. Ai arrives and greets everyone, and gets a little flirty with the eye of her desires. During all this, Hiro emerges behind them and is thusly introduced to the childhood friend that has confessed to Nagi with dead eyes as they stare each other down. Hiro nudges Ai to compete in the cosplay competition with the grand prize of 2 amusement park tickets, and Nagi just so happens to be one of the 3 judges. As the curtain raises on the cosplay competition, we see Erika enter as a bunny mascot, Sachi enter as a little sister, Hiro enter as a shrine maiden, and I enter as a diversion. She bumps the event that takes place after the cosplay competition to right now. With music starting to blare, the stage is set for our idol wrapped in mystery, revealing her face to the world for the first time, performing her song as popular as electricity, Short Circuit, leaving Hiro in complete and utter shock. The very next day, several news articles and media outlets are popping up and gushing over Ai Mochizuki's world debut. Putting his phone away, we have Nagi and Sachi spending the day at the amusement park, as Sachi has won the cosplay competition last night. From roller coasters to teacups, Nagi seems to know his way around all too well. Ending up in the fantastical mirror maze, Nagi tries to impress Sachi by solving the maze within mere minutes. However, that was a big mistake, as Sachi's girlish instincts quickly pick up on the fact that this isn't Nagi's first time here, and he must have been here at one point with Hiro. Sachi's feet in a great deal of pain after walking around all day, Nagi insists on carrying her home. August 31st arrives, aka the very last day of summer vacation. Erika wants to have a party to send off this year's summer vacation. To her great displeasure, she is immediately shut down with the unfortunate reality of those who failed to complete any summer vacation homework. Getting distracted as per usual with Erika, she theorizes Ai's song, Love Circuit, very well may have been written with Nagi floating around in her mind. After helping Erika finish her homework, Nagi has his own war to begin to muster, tomorrow's post-vacation test. And after completing said test, it's revealed that Nagi and Hiro have tied for the top of the class. Nagi was quite impressed with himself. This was his first ever substantial summer vacation full of fun and excitement, and still managed to study in great detail and achieve top of the class on the first test of the new term. On the flip side, disrupting his reflection, everyone's looking at their phones, gossiping, until Shion barges in with a ladder, shouting to turn on the TV, turning the channel to a news outlet talking about Ai Mochizuki's love life reveal. Declared as a second-year high schooler in Tokyo, attending a prestigious prep school named Yukun, and everyone in the school immediately connects the dots to one, Nagi Umino. And now that the whole world knows about Nagi Umino, everyone wants a piece of him. With the media surrounding the school trying to apprehend and locate Yukun, Nagi finds a letter from Hiro addressed to him asking him to meet her in the guidance room, to where they study while talking about this new revelation, and ultimately grabs his tie and kisses his cheek, and like deja vu, she demands Nagi to never talk to her ever again, just like 2 years back. Later, Erika helps Nagi escape the school as they run off to a park to seek refuge. Nagi tells her that Hiro has kissed him and entailed all the drama that's ensued prior. Nagi gets a text message from Ai telling him she's finished producing a song, and she wants Nagi to be the first person to listen to it. Attempting to make his way to Ai's house, he notices the Yukun name has been traced back to Umino Tai, thusly boosting media press and business at the restaurant. Avoiding the press, Nagi remembers a secret shortcut him and Ai crafted to pass through to each other's houses faster. And walking into Ai's room, he notices the worship-like display of Yukun plastered all over the wall and chest of our fair heroine. Nagi discusses his dislike of the media's interpretation of the two of them, and how he'll get to the bottom of the leaker who's made his life harder, but Ai clearly doesn't mind. Ai comes out with a rebuttal stating that she is the leaker, and how Nagi has inspired her to pursue music. She needs Nagi in her life, otherwise she wouldn't be able to write songs, and as they're being blessed by the world against his distaste in the media, Ai asks if he's prepared to make the world his enemy. Returning back home, Nagi is greeted by his biological mother, Ritsuko Amano, who he hasn't seen since the dinner gathering. Trying to talk about the recent drama, Ritsuko's true colors have been revealed, drunkenly asking a few personal questions as an entertainment producer, grasping for the details if Nagi and Erika had done it yet. Ritsuko warns Nagi about the unforeseen issues with this situation, as this could be seen as the ultimate scandal. If word gets out that Yukun has a fiancé, while seemingly, according to the media, dating a world-famous idol, things wouldn't go over all too well in the hands of the media. And in order to avoid that and push sexual tension between the two, killing two birds with one stone with a snap of the fingers, Ritsuko's men storm the house and take Nagi and Erika away and quarantine them in a hotel room for 2 weeks until the media moves on. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is all a ploy designed with environmental manipulation to drive sexual tension between the couple, as Ritsuko observes 24/7. As little to no progress has been made, Ritsuko decides to move on to Plan B, as she appears on the monitors and TV screens like Monokuma, proposing the mommy quiz. Unlike Monokuma. Well, Much later, Ai locates which hotel they've been trapped inside and plans on infiltrating the building to escort them out. Mistaken as a dead body upon infiltration, Erika faints, which Ai sees this as a perfect opportunity to run away with Nagi, to which he declines as he doesn't believe running away solves anything. Not anymore, as he's learned that all too well. Erika and Ai arguing over Nagi, glossing over whose panties would he rather see, Ai's 100-year life plan, feisty argumental points to a hand-to-hand grappling, to coming out to be compatible as friends. Ooh. Friendship prevails once again. Eventually though, the three of them collectively sneak out, and Nagi, who was lagging behind, got caught by Ritsuko, to the point where Ritsuko tells him a lot of information about Sousuke, and how he's the only one who can save him, as she disappears into the darkness. Driving down the highway, Ai takes Nagi and Erika to separate hideouts to finish off their 2 weeks worth of quarantine, with Nagi ending up at Hiro's place and Erika escorted to the Umino household. Without a single word spared, Hiro welcomes Nagi to her home and treats him as a guest. Seeing the writing on the wall, from seemingly digging his own grave to Hiro sharpening a knife, Nagi believes she's going to attempt to murder him again. And after seeing Nagi trip and fall, that managed to get a giggle out of Hiro, whereas she began to talk to Nagi with actual words. Hiro declares her quest to become the leading lady of the story, introducing a project in the works at the shrine to update their wedding pamphlet. The two ask Asami if they could pose as bride and groom on the pamphlet, which she openly declines. Eventually, Nagi is introduced to Hiro's father, who introduces himself with challenging Nagi to a sumo match, and says if he can manage to best him, he'll allow them to star in the pamphlet's cover photo as bride and groom. After the match, even though Nagi had lost, Mr. Sagawa was impressed by Nagi's resilience and gives him the green light. Later in the bath, Nagi and Mr. Sagawa talking about their engagements and relationships. We even get a peek inside the arranged marriage between Mr. and Mrs. Sagawa. However, having Mr. Sagawa on board, Asami still refuted. Eventually, Asami said fine and allowed Nagi and Hiro to pose for the cover photo, thanks to the great convincing of Mr. Sagawa, and thus they prepare for the photo shoot and send out invitations to friends, family, and local community members to pose as audience members. As the photo shoot begins, Sachi barges in and objects to the wedding, screaming in tears not to take her big brother away. Nagi grabs her arm and storms out of the altar. Apologizing for the disruption of the photo shoot, Erika has the idea for all four of them to pose for a photo shoot with Nagi. From photos to kisses to cuddles, the heat of the moment has thrusted Sachi to kiss Nagi in front of everyone, thusly hammering the final nail in the coffin, taking away Hiro's spotlight. Ai mentions to Hiro that over anybody, Sachi is their ultimate enemy. Similar to what she said during the game of darts, Nagi contemplates the possibilities of marrying Sachi, back and forth through his mind whether it's right or wrong, or the logistics of how possible it could be, disregarding everything. Is this forbidden love, or is this pure love? However, back at the Umino household, Sachi is crying, asking herself why she did what she did, having Erika comfort her, saying what she did wasn't weird or strange at all, after being informed that Sachi kissed Nagi on purpose. With all that in mind, the final week of quarantine has lifted, with Nagi and Erika returning home, with things very awkward between Nagi and Sachi. Once more in an off-putting home environment with the tension between the two, Erika gets sick and tired of this happening again, and misses when living together was fun. She flips the table in pure rage and irritation and reveals to Nagi that Sachi's kiss was on purpose, a secret Sachi had entrusted her with. Leaving the room, creating the atmosphere for them to talk things out and resolving the issue and making up. Sachi wants to get back at Erika for blowing her secret, and similarly fashioned, pranks Erika, claiming they've decided to get married. The first time back at school since quarantine, nobody remembers the Yu-kun incident. On their first day back, the class was talking about the upcoming culture festival and a specific event called the M1, where class representatives battle it out. Hiro quickly teams up with Nagi, Nagi being forced to go along against his will, and Shion tries his best to pair up with Erika. The M1 is an event to where a team puts on a performance of any kind, and whatever team gets the highest score reaction will win. There's also apparently a legend where each boy and the girl teams in the past have reportedly ended up married. The four brainstorming ideas at the Ami-Umi house, and excessive trial and errors. Hiro shows a DVD she's brought with her documenting past M1 performances to watch, just in case they needed some inspiration. Tossing the disc into the DVD player, they find Shorichiro and Ritsuko's performance, and later go to the Amano estate to ask Ritsuko some questions about the M1. As we promulgate, seeing in real time Shorichiro and Ritsuko's performance and a flashback scene to how Shorichiro has convinced Ritsuko to cooperate. With this inspiration in mind of what to expect, the teams return to the Ami-Umi house at a later date for another session of trial and error. Erika playing with a razor to attempt to shave Shion's head, she accidentally drops it, leading her to fall into the pool, which to where Nagi quickly saves her from a wet and soggy demise, as he asks to team up with her instead, which forces Hiro to team up with Shion. The day of the culture festival eventually arrives as we tour around the festival from maid cafes, game or food stands, and drama club performances. Sachi and I enter the M1 under a mask so no one can see their identities, and perform a new song titled Love Rivals. Shion and Hiro step on stage and decide to drop out, which she used as her bomb, but also hoped to see Nagi and Erika win so she could overcome the legend and marry Nagi in the end. Nagi and Erika present this badass old school slideshow, explaining the entirety of their origins to the student body, revealing the truth to the public. However, to their surprise, nobody believed them, to the point where one of the stalkers shows up and claims this is all a lie. So clearly he didn't watch the anime or read the manga. And how dare Erika agree to partake in such a lie, to where Nagi and the stalker get into a fist fight on the stage, with students running up to hold the two violent boys back from each other, where eventually Nagi gets suspended for 4 days, and no winners were to be announced because of this violent act towards a student from an outside school. Nagi laying in bed recovering, covered in bruises, scuff marks, and bandages. Erika brings him some fried rice porridge. Apologizing for their loss because of him, Erika thinks nothing of it, as she's just happy that he was there to protect her, where she rewards him with a kiss. The next morning, Sachi texts their mutual friends, telling them about the juicy details, as Hiro and I and the pizza delivery boy eagerly come over to talk about Erika's kiss. And Nagi has grounded himself for getting suspended, only listening to the gossip from closed doors. Later that night, Erika is sitting outside talking to her dad over the phone, and discloses to him that she believes she's in love with Nagi, to where Nagi, preparing a snack and preparing the garbage for the morning, overhears the sentiment from her. The next day, however, Nagi is at loss with himself at trying to pretend he didn't hear those words come from Erika's mouth. Yohei grabs Nagi to take him on another fishing trip to help cheer him up and clear his mind, helping him to see what step to take next. When he arrives back home, he imparts to Erika that he's overheard her sentiment and he feels the same way, to where they both go to tell their father together that very night. During their discussion, Shorichiro asks for them to try living apart for a while and having Nagi come to his hotel and learn about the industry, and Erika to get some global experience studying abroad. Declining as politely as possible, the couple vows to continue to get along, as Shorichiro watching over them, monologuing that the story won't slow down to match their pace. As Nagi returns back to school from suspension, he finds another letter from Hiro addressed to him asking him to meet her in the library after school. And during this first day back, rumors are floating around the school that the M1 has hooked up Shion and Hiro. Later in the library, as they study, they're talking about these rumors. As Nagi tries to decode these rumors, he claims she has a fiancé herself, so she wouldn't date someone so easily. To where she rebuttals, if Shion was her fiancé, then would it be possible? She continues to talk about Shion as he's the son of the head of a Japanese traditional dance school, and he's the successor of the Asuma style lineage. She afterwards claims that Shion is her fiancé and asks Nagi if he thinks they should try dating. As they leave the library, Nagi confronts her, asking why she thought she could ask him if she could date another man, knowing how he feels about her, asking if she has any feelings for him. She replies that just might be so, and cross-questions if they should start dating each other. Leaving Nagi frozen and speechless, she refers to Nagi as a wimp for being unable to answer her, and walks her way off and reveals she's lied about Shion being her fiance. It was all just a ploy to invoke a reaction out of him, trying to figure out as the night went on why he couldn't express any sort of answer. Erika sees right through him and feels like something has happened between him and Hiro. Later, Nagi finds a notebook in his bag and discovers it belongs to Hiro. Rushing over to her house to return what happens to actually be her diary, they have a discussion where Nagi claims he couldn't answer her as he froze over and saw the other girls' faces in his mind too. Eventually, Nagi asks Hiro out to where she agrees on the condition that he must beat her on the upcoming midterms and she'll comply to being his girlfriend. The next morning, Nagi begs the others to leave him alone until the midterms are over with, as his future is riding on his success. Everyone is handling this development a little differently. Erika's scared of losing Nagi. Sachi is hiding behind a wall, completely against the situation. And Ai is angry but on board with him dating her rival, predicting he'll eventually get bored of Hiro and turn to Ai afterwards. After learning that Nagi does all the housework around here, Ai becomes their home live-in maid to replace Nagi during his absence, as he'll be focused on studying 24/7 for 2 weeks straight until the midterms. Sachi displeased with this arrangement and hopes Nagi will lose so he won't have to date Hiro. To rebuttal, Erika makes a remark where she'll just have to get first place then, and see what'll happen then. Which we all know likely would never happen because, well, she's dumb. She claims that whenever she sees Nagi enjoy studying, that makes her want to follow suit and strive to learn more. Later, Sachi visits Hiro's shrine to have Hiro's back as she's on her side this time around. She offers Hiro performance-enhancing drugs to where she declines, but uses that as a ploy to invoke yet another reaction out of Nagi, sprawling into a frantic mad dash over to her place to stop her from doing something so rational. It is here where we see Sachi taking inspiration from Ai, as Sachi will be volunteering at the shrine to replace Hiro's absence, so she can focus on studying as well. We end off with everybody continuing to deal with this arrangement in their own ways. Sachi and Ai helping out their respective sides, Erika studying math in hopes to get the top grade in math, since math is Nagi's favorite subject. Discussions about fate and destiny pursue. I can tell there's an underlying issue distracting Nagi from studying, and it's not worrying over Sachi or Erika bothering him, it's the whole deal itself. Having Hiro's destiny riding off of a test score feels a little iffy to him, where he runs over to her place that night to see her take on this philosophy. Hiro sympathizes with every point Nagi makes, and expresses how she's okay with everything, where everyone's battles have officially begun. No bars hold. And this is indeed where Season 2 would roughly end, setting up the scene for a potential Season 3 later down the road, where we'll find out who came out on top, if Nagi and Hiro will become boyfriend-girlfriend, if Erika aced math, and more underlying mysteries, as Season 3 would hold some actual sousuke amano content. So that is everything you need to know about the upcoming Season 2 of A Couple of Cuckoos. For those of you who made it this far in the video, thank you so much. I honestly appreciate you guys hanging out and talking about what we love. Season 2 has the chance to blow everybody away. It tells an amazingly dramatic and romantic story, with wonderful and diverse visuals and locations. And if you'd like to stay up to date with everything A Couple of Cuckoos, why not subscribe? Don't forget to like the video. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to see my wishlist/pitch to Crunchyroll about voice actors for the new characters in Season 2, click the video you're currently seeing on your screen.